Guardian. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has directed commercial banks to start paying the redesigned Naira notes to customers over the counter. Now, if you recall, there was a notice from the CBN insisting that over-the-counter payments of the new notes stop and the new notes be loaded in the cash machines. Now, Emefiele says this new directive is to alleviate the challenges the Nigerians are experiencing with getting across to the new notes, and also to reduce the queues that have been seen at the cash machines, the ATMs across the country.
Well, it's been a dire period for Nigerians, and honestly, it's very disheartening to see what's been going on in banks. We've had people who have been driven almost to madness by the frustration occasioned by the redesign of some Naira notes. And what's curious is that the banks are making it seem as if these are the only denominations of the Nigerian currency in existence. We have other notes that are meant to be in circulation. The banks don't even give them out to customers. And so frustrations are mounting. I mean, people are practically fighting at ATMs. People are fighting, even the banking halls. I mean, I saw a video of a woman who stripped herself in the banking hall. A man also stripped himself, jumped on the counter of a bank. People have fought in the banking halls. I mean, it's disheartening. And the message that should go to banks is that they are actually pushing Nigerian citizens too far. The CBN has come out to say we printed enough notes to go around, and it should be loaded in ATMs. It took the CBN intervention for banks to even load their ATMs with the new notes. It's taking the CBN now to go around to tell banks what to do in time to monitor them to ensure that they are dispensing the notes as they should. You know, everything in Nigeria seems to be that we would complicate it, make it difficult, and let people suffer first. But the intervention by the CBN is timely, you know, telling banks that they can pay limited amounts of money to customers across the counter. It has alleviated the pressure that was building. I mean, there has been protests already for these civil rights organizations led protests and are pointedly accusing banks of sabotaging this whole process of the currency swap. So something is seriously wrong somewhere, and honestly, they require the commitment of the banks working with the CBN to address this issue, because the suffering of the average Nigerian citizen has been very horrendous in these past few days.
Let's see, we've got a message coming through. Sunday says we must understand the reasons why the Naira redesign was embarked on. One major reason is to reduce the quantity of cash in circulation. It's not the intention to allow more cash in circulation after the scheme. That's one thing we have to come to terms with. So the message is not to find ways to get more cash, but ways to transact online. The CBN must send out the right message so that Nigerians know the true intentions. And that message is from Sunday.
I'm glad that this listener brought up this, because the real issue, I think this is what most Nigerians are missing, is what's the intention behind this policy? To encourage us to do more of the cashless transactions. But even that process is bogged down. I think this is what we need to understand. This whole process of seamlessly going online, making payments, digital transfers, is not smooth. It's not seamless. That's why there is more fallback to cash. In countries like Kenya, mobile transfer of funds is a routine. It's so routine because it's seamless. In our instance, you can't conveniently and comfortably make a transfer without issue. You can't use mobile transfer processes without issue. So until the process is seamless, I don't know how many persons have e-Naira wallet. Yeah, so if I want to buy something, I need the other party has to have the e-Naira wallet for me to transfer to the person. So if the CBN hasn't even educated Nigerians on what it means to have e-Naira wallet, how are we going to go about the cashless policy? So I think that's where focus should be now. That is where they want us to go, but not enough is not being done to enlighten people and educate them to do so.
I've got a message coming through, and this one is from JP. He says, let's be clear, the CBN is at the brunt of poor implementation, crying foul play, and using banks, though complicit as the fall child, is sad. The government doesn't care about us. QR codes or M-Pesa options in Kenya just do not work here. Right, let's know what your thoughts are. Keep them coming, please. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. And we're moving on to the next story. This one comes from this Business Day. Small businesses may become the major beneficiaries of the cashless economy drive, especially the Naira redesign project. And this is a sort of hint that's coming from the central bank. It says it will dedicate most of the savings from the Naira redesign scheme and deepening of its cashless economy to boost the SME section of the economy. And they disclosed this in Port Harcourt earlier this week, doing a sensitization rally.
That's a very good initiative, because what most people don't know that the central bank has got quite a number of projects or products rather that support small businesses and businesses at different categories, particularly agro businesses and so on. So if they are willing to, they have come up to say that they are going to invest what they have, they are going to generate the funds saved from this cashless process or policy into the SMEs. It is a very, very laudable initiative to make. And at the end of the day, these are the people who currently are suffering the brunt of the negative effects of the policy. In terms of penetrability of the policy, cashless policy to rural areas, for example, where most of these SMEs are. So it is important to be able to reach them and support them to be able to continue to stay in operation. So it's a commendable effort by the CBN.
Okay, so Wale has just sent a video, and he says that this is a banking hole in Nigeria. I actually have plans to go and see if I can get some cash over the counter, but looking at the state of this video, I might have a rethink.
You have to think twice, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, yesterday I was in the banking. I went to my two branches here. One branch, I couldn't even get into the hall. I was told that the banking hall is filled, and they have to, they can only admit us into the banking hall when they release the banking hall, or more people come out, then they can take us in. So it was that bad, I mean. And this is an exclusive bank, more or less. It has less customers, but it was already having this kind of challenges.
Wow. Okay, I've got another message, and Okechukwu says, a number of us understand the intentions of the new policy quite well. However, it's the irresponsibility to insist on cashless transactions when the required infrastructure are in deficit in the market. The cure of an illness cannot be more harmful than the disease. Government should be deliberate in working with private sector to develop the fintech space. And Hyper Ade says the issue with the new currency is not just with the banks, but with the entire process, starting with the CBN. Banks didn't have enough funds to put in ATMs, bearing in mind the CBN drive to limit the cash in circulation. Let's go on to our next story. This one comes from The Nation. President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday called for stricter policing of the borders to help check the influx of arms and terrorism. Now, he stated that the porous nature of borders has encouraged the escalation of terrorism, economic sabotage, and illicit flow of arms. Now, he stated this while hosting the Secretary General of the World Customs Organization, Dr. Kunio Mikuriya, who's in Nigeria for the Global Conference on Fragile Borders. fragile borders.
Yeah, and if you talk about fragile borders, Nigeria has got a huge challenge with borders. The international border is so vast. Nigeria is one of the biggest, it's the largest country, more or less, in terms of landmass around here in the whole of West Africa. But then it is porous. Most parts of the border that is in Mount, they are porous because you can only police as much as you can. So there are many tracks, many paths that people can take that you are not, you're not able to police and man. So it's a huge challenge. Arms proliferation is encouraged when you cannot police all of your border, efficiently. Countries need to spend a lot of money in technology, and that's where Nigeria can actually look at using technology to be able to do the policing so that you're spot on. You can actually see what's going on real time. Then you can deploy interventions as needed. But if you're depending on people, your personnel, customs and immigration to monitor, it is difficult to really do that. Even the best of nations, I mean, look at the United States, for example, its boundary with its neighbors in South America. It's a challenge because they have to build walls, for example, and these things cost tons of money. Some countries depend on actual barriers, mountain fences, building walls, and all of that in most of the places that they feel they are more vulnerable. We are facing financial challenges, we as a nation. So how much of it can we deploy into these other things? But technology can help. There are things you can send into the air that are there using satellite and all that you can see into to monitor what's going on. And then you can make interventions, as I said before, directly at where it is needed.
All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll continue the conversation on the other side. This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. We'll be back in just about 2 minutes. Can we go on to 5? You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. We're looking at the stories on the daily papers here in Nigeria. And just before we went on the break, we spoke about the borders and the president's charge to ensure that border security is strengthened to help discourage terrorism, illicit flow of arms, and economic sabotage. But let's go on to our next story, and this one is coming from Vanguard. The Independent National Electoral Commission has reassured the safety of members of the NYSC during the general elections. Now, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, said this when he received the DG of the NYSC. He says that INEC places great priority on the comfort, safety, and security of NYSC members. And over the years, INEC has continued to work with NYSC to improve the comfort of core members who are engaged in election duties.
You know, every year we conduct elections, we've lost core members. We've lost life of young Nigerians who just left universities, whose future was terminated because of electoral violence. So it goes beyond just assurances. What in practical terms can the INEC do to protect NYSC members who are serving them during elections? Because electoral violence, I mean, we've not even started elections. The election has not started. And in places like River State, we're already seeing violence. People being attacked and all that. So what is the guarantee? Beyond just words, because it requires more than the assurance has to be something concrete. What are you doing? Giving them bulletproof or what? What are you doing? What is the assurance? Because we've seen this happen every election year. There have been lots of lives, young lives in Nigeria. So it's not a matter of saying you're assuring them of their safety and all that. But what in concrete terms can be done for them? And how much compensation do families of those who lose their loved ones, whose futures were cut short, get from government, as a result of they are coming to perform national duty. So welfare, yes, safety of core members, I don't think that INEC has got all it takes to guarantee safety. Because even INEC is depending on other agencies for the safety of its own personnel and its officers. The assurance should come more from the security agencies, and then they should be able to guarantee that every person, the electorate, the voters, everybody who is participating in the election is going to be able to do so peacefully. So it's a commitment that has to be borne by all stakeholders. But INEC in itself, I doubt if they are in a position to guarantee the safety of core members beyond maybe just providing them the means of movement from one place to the other. That I don't see what they can do in terms of that.
Let us know what your thoughts are. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. And let's go on to some messages. This one is from Gary Newton, and he says, just want to know what plan INEC has put in place to ensure that the core members cast their votes. Okay. Dami says, we need to stop the narrative that online payments don't work. Yes, there may be a few incidents of issues, but that doesn't mean they don't work. The reason small businesses are rejecting bank transfers now is the difficulty of withdrawing from the bank. If I cannot get my money by the bank, please pay me cash. So by badly implementing this policy, CBN is destroying part of the gains already made in cashless. Bad planning by CBN is to blame, not even the banks. This headline comes from Premium Times. FEC approves 4 billion Naira for projects in higher institutions. Now, this amount would cover the construction of Senate buildings at Osun State University, the Federal University, Lokoja, and the erection of a radio antenna for the National Commission for Nomadic Education. The minister revealed this while briefing State House correspondents on the outcome of the council meeting which was shared by the president on Wednesday.
Yeah, funding education in Nigeria, particularly public, higher institutions, is rested squarely on the federal government. But interventions such as the TED Fund and so on have helped to take care of the infrastructural deficiencies and dearth of infrastructure in our institutions. TED Fund in particular has done a great lot to relieve these inadequacies in the universities and some other institutions of higher learning. If you go to some of the universities where they have used the TED Fund very wisely, you can see very significant, projects that are going on, running into hundreds of millions of naira. And if the way the TED Fund runs is that you can only access it after you have retired your previous disbursement. So universities the higher institutions are held accountable for the fund they are getting from the TED Fund, the money they are getting from TED Fund. And it has helped to alleviate the debt of infrastructure, particularly buildings in most of these higher institutions. So, but there is a lot that needs to be done in terms of student accommodation and all of those other areas that there are still gaps, So voting this 4 billion is commendable, and it will also go a long way to help these institutions that are benefiting from it.
All right, going on to our WhatsApp messages. Julius says, please let the youth corps members present how they want to be protected. NYSC and other Nigerians are not really interested in their safety. Please tell them. That would be the responsibility of the government and its security agencies. Idima Puza from Surulere says Nigerians are provoked because of the sufferings created by fuel and naira scarcity. I hope and pray that it doesn't get worse. All right, thank you for your message. Let's go on to Vanguard. The Kaduna State Police Command announced the rescue of a 6-year-old child who was abducted and sold for 100,000 naira. Now, 13 suspects also in the states were arrested on charges which include banditry, armed robbery, kidnapping, illegal trafficking in firearms, child stealing, illegal trading of currency, and other heinous crimes.
I read this story and my heart actually just bled, because I can't imagine how we've sunk so low that human life means nothing to us. All we need is money, but at all costs. That child was taken away by a neighbor, according to the report, and he received 5,000 naira advance payment out of the 100,000 that he was asking for. He took 5,000.
Wow.
To kidnap a child, a sister, neighbor for that matter. So it's just so shocking. The problem we are creating for the society is very huge. I mean, the pressure on young people to make it by all means, I think, is what's driving all of this. People who see the flaunting of wealth on social media and these are wannabe rich people. So anyhow, at all costs, you want to have money. Otherwise, how do you explain such a crime? It's heartless. But we commend the police for quickly, hitting the ground to ensure that they look for this child, and they of course immediately had a suspect who was questioned, interrogated, and then the story came out, and some other persons were arrested in connection with the adoption of that child. But also the fact that they reported successes in some other crimes, in busting other crimes, is highly commendable. Oftentimes we don't praise our police well. Yeah, because their wrongdoings tend to overshadow the positive things they do. But the truth is that without them, I think we'll be worse off. And we need to also appreciate them when they do positive things and encourage them by giving information to people who have seen things happening, who suspect things going wrong, to be able to give information to the police for them to be able to do their work very well. But it's quite commendable that this child was rescued. That's quite a number that weren't that lucky, and they end up in the child trafficking, mainly. Yeah.
Right. I've got a message coming through. David from Ejibo says, good morning. Has the INEC been able to protect its own staff? INEC staff have been attacked, killed, and their properties have been destroyed. And let's go on to this one from Wale. Wale says, even the cashless is also a problem. Been trying to send money online from one of the top 4 banks for 3 days now. No luck. So there are a lot of issues to resolve. We are not yet ready. Noel from Ikeja says, the banks have been under so much pressure and the CBN keeps giving instructions to banks that backfire. The CBN underestimated the situation in our rural areas. The timing is wrong. Most traders and petrol stations don't accept electronic payments. CBN failed in this responsibility. All right, thank you, Nee, for your message, but unfortunately, I cannot listen to any audio messages. You need to make sure that they are typed. And I've got another one from Ruth, and Ruth says, as much as I do accept that social media has played a role in encouraging ills in our society, this case is beyond social media. The heart of man is desperately wicked. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that is all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed this morning. Thank you so much, Joseph, for being on the show this morning.
It's been a jolly time. Thanks so very much. And thanks to our contributors and listeners who contributed. We really appreciate your feedback. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, let's get back to the show. Don't go anywhere because